All right, guys. Well, welcome back to Post Frame 360. As you know, one of your hosts, Scott Cragg, along with my tricked out Post Frame 360 swaggin'. Josh, what's up?
What's going on?
Yeah. And if you're watching online, again, we have a guest. So we've got Ed Krow with us today. Ed is going to be speaking at the National Frame Builders Association. And so as we march up to that time in February, we've had the privilege of bringing on some of the guest speakers to share a little bit about their session, encourage you, get you guys excited, and get you to the NFBA. So we're going to talk a little bit with Ed this morning, and just, a couple of side notes. Number one, Alaska. Guys, we're recording this as this Arctic tundra mess moves in, and I just wanted to honor that. And then before we came on, I had to break up the football talk between Ed and Josh. Something about Josh lives in Texas and he's a Pittsburgh fan. Ed's in Pittsburgh and he doesn't know why Josh supports that. And Josh goes, well, Texas doesn't have a football team. So I'll leave it there.
A real football team.
now we're getting into the qualifiers.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
we're
gonna get some stuff going here.
Well, let's do that. Let's get some stuff going. So Josh, I'm gonna let you take it away with Ed, and Ed, I look forward to hearing from you.
No, we're happy to have you on, Ed, and looking forward to the talk today and everything. And while we get going here, and just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you're doing, and we'll start there.
Yeah. So I am Ed Krow. I'm a leadership architect and talent transformation specialist, and I love working with clients on all things leadership and HR strategy, because to me, it's the engine of the company, right? It's what keeps things moving are the people. And if we don't keep the people highly tuned, the engine fails, company fails. And so when I have the opportunity to speak at a conference for someone who wants to come and hear this one guy's viewpoint on a few things, I always like to jump on stage and share my viewpoint for those that'll listen. I'm so thankful to the association for having me.
Okay, you said something there. Leadership architect.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's good. Tell me a little bit about that, because now I'm curious.
Well, we were talking about marketing earlier, right? So I've got some really, really great marketing people on my team. And, as I really looked at the kinds of work that I do with my clients and how I approach it, to me, if you just say, well, I develop leaders. Okay, well, it's kind of generic sounding, right? What does that even really mean? But, what do architects do? They design things and they design them. And you guys know this, being in the building industry, right? They design the nuts, the bolts, the things that make the building stand. And so that's how I approach leadership and leadership development in an organization. I believe it's something that you build. And I'm a big believer that leaders can be made. I think there are very few of us that are born, right? But I think for most of us, we've got to work on our leadership skills on a daily basis. And that's what I help my clients do.
All right. And that's
Scott,
fantastic.
we spend so much time every day, every week in leadership meetings and stuff. I mean, I think he's going to be speaking our language. We might have to pick his brain a little more here.
We need to. Yeah, leadership, just as you said that, Ed, I think about, because most of our listeners are business owners, right? Like they're coming to the NFBA, they're going to be business owners. Now you'll have your staff, and I don't just call them staff, I like your team, right? You don't really exist or get too far without a good team around you. And I love what you're saying here, because, you can be a leader because we slapped a title behind your name or under your name. But for me, leadership encompasses a lot of different aspects. How you lead, either you demand to be followed, or you're a leader because people choose to follow you.
Absolutely.
So I'm very intrigued, and I'm looking forward to hear more from your session. And obviously we don't want you to spoil your session.
Oh no.
But what kind of teasers can you give us? That our listeners may say, hey, you know what? I need to sit in on Ed's.
Got to sit in with
session.
this guy. Yeah. So, well, I mean, you said something there that is the foundation of how I approach things. And you said that you can be a leader because you have a title, right? You get the plaque on your desk that says, I am, the Swami of whatever, right?
Right.
The reality is that that's what we call positional leadership. There's
Mm,
no influence there. There's the,
mhm.
as you said, it's the follow me because you have to, because I'm your boss.
Right.
Well, that's very fleeting. When I ask people, well, how long, when you get a new boss, how long would you follow that person?
Mm,
Unquestioningly, right?
mhm.
Most people say, I give us 6 weeks to 2 months to prove that they actually care about me and know what they're doing.
Right.
And so that's all the time we have to show that we care and actually get into a higher level of leadership with our people.
Mhm.
And so in my session, we're going to talk about strategic succession planning. How do
Okay.
we build our leadership bench so that when it's time, whether it's high level leadership like an owner transitioning out, or whether it's just a high level executive or mid level manager,
Mm,
do we have the talent ready to go to backfill that position? And,
I'd
and I'll
take
give
it.
you I'll give you a perfect example. I was on with a client earlier today from the banking world, and they're ready to promote one of their branch level managers into what they call an area manager, and he'll now manage several branches. And
mhm.
I talked to the corporate person who said, "Yeah, this is what we've done to get this guy ready. It's perfect. It's spot on." I said, "But now, what's going to happen to that branch?" He said, "Oh, we've already got a salesperson at the branch that we've been working with to move him up and into the branch manager role." So the dominoes are falling in place to them because
Mhm.
they've got this process of developing leaders continually.
Oh, man.
A
That's
lot of
good.
our listeners too, they're even small builders, right?
Mhm.
Where the guy swinging the hammer is also the guy selling the buildings, which is
Sure.
also the guy making the phone calls. And you know, I think a succession plan for them is just as important as any other leadership, right? Because you've got to at some point you're going to get tired of swinging the hammer. You may not
Mhm.
be ready to shut your business down or sell it. You might want to hand it on to someone, or you might just want to go and sell more and let someone else build. So, I think it's important no matter what you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course we know the trades are it's tough right now. Good
Mm.
skilled tradespeople are really hard to come by. Which I think is a crying shame because, for one, there's a lot of money to be made in the trades, obviously.
Yes,
Mhm.
there is.
It's good, honest work, and we're always gonna need tradespeople. They're
Mm,
never going away.
mhm.
And so the challenge becomes that guy who maybe likes swinging a hammer is going to need grooming if he's going or she is going to take on a responsibility of supervising other people who swing hammers, right? Like
Mhm.
this idea that we can just say, well, gee, Josh, you were great at nailing boards together, so I'm going to make you a supervisor now. Well, 80% of the time when people do that, Josh fails because
Mhm.
we just because he could swing a hammer doesn't mean that he can motivate other people.
Mm,
And so when I think about planning for succession, it has to start with, okay, Josh is good at what he does and he has an interest in moving forward. So what's the path? What are his gaps that I need to identify to get him ready so
mhm.
that when I put him in there, he can be successful
Mhm.
and he doesn't crash and burn in the first year?
If for our listeners right now, if you haven't had a chance to go and listen to one of the previous podcasts we did, it was titled "Let's Get Personnel."
Mm,
And in that, when we talked about some of these concepts, right, which is how do you treat your employees, how do you treat your vendors, and how do you treat your subcontractors? And Ed, like what you're saying is speaking right into that. It's like a reaffirmation of how we lead and how we lead our business. I think about man, it's so good what you're saying because if you are the guy that's doing all the sales calls and doing the building and everything else, well, you're leaving yourself really, really vulnerable, right? Because what happens if you get injured tomorrow?
mhm.
Where's your income, right? And the other thing that Ed said is so important. I mean, we think about what college once meant. It has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And trade schools now, my nephew, he's 23 years old and is almost a contractor in electricity. I mean, from a financial standpoint, work stability standpoint, is doing a whole lot better than a lot of people that come out of school with a doctorate, right?
Mhm.
And so there is this big need. And so I love what Ed is saying. And for those of you who have foundational building knowledge, you know how to build a building. I would encourage you, start keeping your eyes out. You go to a restaurant, you go somewhere and someone just really catches your eyes. Man, they seem bright, they seem eager. Strike up a conversation. You have an opportunity to mentor and invite people into a fantastic trade of construction.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's my daughter plays softball and she's a senior this year. So, heading off to bigger and better things next year. And one of the girls
Mhm,
she plays with, excellent athlete. Um, Not a great student, but she's great with her hands.
mhm,
She's being raised by her uncle and he is pushing her towards college, thinking that, hey, she's such a great athlete, she can get a scholarship, she can do all
mhm,
these things. She wants to be an electrician.
mm.
And I looked, and it was about a year ago, and I said, "Why are you pushing her to college?" "Well, she's such a great softball player." "So?" "We're
Mhm.
talking about life. Like, softball's a wonderful thing, and it's something she could play recreationally, right?
Yes.
But in 2 years, here locally in Central PA, we have an amazing 2 amazing trade schools.
Mhm,
In 2 years, do you understand the kind of money this girl could be making?
mhm.
Mhm.
She's not cut out for college. It's not in her
Right.
DNA.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, that really saddens me. I think there is a place for college for certain positions,
Mhm,
but this idea that you got to have a college degree to be a leader. When we're talking about leaders, right? No,
mhm. Right,
I
right.
mean I could sit here in more time than we've got and talk about guys who have been self-made who don't have a 4-year degree and are some of the most brilliant business people I've ever met.
100%,
Well
100%.
said.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's also an encouragement to our listeners, that maybe you think, "Well, I've got a construction business and I'm doing okay, but man, if I had college." And here's the thing, and Ed, I love what you said. She's smart enough, like any of you guys, you're smart enough to go to
Mhm,
college, but what do you wanna do,
mhm,
right? And so for you to say
exactly.
that she wants to be an electrician, man, I'm excited for her. Can you think about what it's like and the opportunity she has being a female electrician and the
Mhm,
type of business she can build? So that's like
mhm,
competitive distinction, right? She goes down that path and
absolutely.
she's got some built-in inherent competitive distinction. And so
Absolutely.
that's the other part of being a leader is looking at your opportunities, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's how I think about this, Ed, is leading isn't necessarily I'm the boss. Leading is what are you doing for the people around you,
That's right.
right? Leading is really your legacy. It's not how you put money in your pocket.
Mhm.
Is how I view that.
Yeah, it's a question I often ask, and people don't always think about it in those terms. And I'll say, well, what is the legacy you want to leave behind?
Mhm.
And so, if I'm talking to a business owner, I continue to be amazed that rarely do they say, "Oh, well, I want to build this business up so that I can turn it over to the next generation."
Mhm.
What I often hear is, "I want to build this business up because of what it can do in the community."
Yes.
Because of course they've got a foundation set up or they've got
Mhm.
their pet charities that they like to help out with the proceeds as much as they can. Those kinds of things. That's what I hear business owners being concerned about when it comes from a legacy standpoint.
Yes.
And so what I tell them then is, okay, so if you want to continue this legacy of this building that's got your name on it in many cases, then
Mhm.
what are we doing from a talent standpoint to enable that to continue to grow and thrive in your absence? And when are you planning that? Because you want to go out next year, it's too late to
Yeah.
start planning now. It's way too
Yeah.
late.
Mm.
What would you say about, that some of these business owners, um, as far as like, how would you advise them to start looking at that exit strategy? Would you, or that transition, 'cause one of the things that comes to my mind would be like, bring maybe even later in the game, bringing a new partner into the
Mhm,
business, especially
Mhm.
if you own 100% of it, right?
mhm.
Someone who can complement you, where your shortfalls are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Uh,
I have a client right now that's a pretty high end home builder. To the extent, I mean, these homes, they pretty much don't erect a home for anything less than 25 million. Like this is, I don't know that
Wow.
that's a home or a McMansion or what you want to call that, right? But so here's one of their biggest concerns is how do you coach someone up to be able to sit across the table from someone who has that kind of wealth and have a discussion with them, and in many cases tell them, no, we can't do what you're asking us to do because engineering and physics don't allow it, right? You're like, how
Right.
do you know, that's their biggest concern. Like they've got
Mhm.
some good leadership programs to move guys up from the field and into site superintendent roles and so on. But getting that next step, even from say a project manager into an ownership stake where you're dealing directly with the home buyer, excuse me, that's what keeps the owners up at night.
Mm.
And we're working with them on that to identify what are the skills that we need, because now we're playing in that, they call it the soft skills, right? The things, the intangibles, that it factor.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
How do we see that in someone and then get them over the hump of nervousness and intimidation and sitting down in those kinds of discussions? And so that's their biggest concern from a succession standpoint when it comes to the transition of their partnership shares to a new owner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Something else I think about, I think about how when we whether it's employees, uh, mid-level management. So let's say, I'm the owner of a company or the president of the company.
Mhm.
I think there's this inherent, maybe an old way of thinking, like, "Well, they're my boss, and I just gotta do whatever, they're my boss," right? And I think there's an element of corporate America that's like that. I'm the boss.
Sure.
You do what I say, right? And so I think there's this fear. I know in some of my previous careers, I was a national director of training, so I trained sales consultants all over the country in
Mhm.
medicine, and you could see that, right? Like, there was this built-in taught reverence for a doctor. They've got the MD, whatever the alphabet soup is behind their name, and I'm just a this, right? So who am I to try to tell or teach a doctor something? I don't have the alphabet soup. Well, it was really easy I won't say easy. I had to help them overcome the idea that just because they have a different title, just because they're skilled in their area,
Mhm.
does not negate or make you less than.
Yep.
What makes you different is your authenticity. If I come in with an authentic perspective, mindset, and heart for what I'm bringing, hey, I'm bringing you a building. You want a building? I've got a building.
Mhm.
Why should you buy from me? Well, and then you go through that. And so that's something that I'm thinking about as I'm hearing you talk, Ed, is as leaders, it really is on us. Like, that's in my mind, the idea of a great leader is you're always working from an employee standpoint in the way you lead. You should be creating people to replace you. You
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't make yourself indispensable. And like you should be looking to bring people up, whether it's employees, customers, vendors, or subcontractors. You have the opportunity to bring people along versus just consume what they have. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think back my early 20s, I was in my first supervisory role, and I had a manager tell me, and at the time it didn't sound right, but I didn't have the experience to know any different.
Hmm.
But he had said to me, Ed, never give up your knowledge, because once you do that, you're replaceable.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, huh, I don't know if I agree with that, but 24 years old or whatever, who might argue with this guy?
Right.
And now what I've learned all these years later is that's a great way to make yourself irreplaceable. Hold on to your knowledge. But what
Hmm.
it's also going to do is going to make you so irreplaceable, you'll never move up because the company can't live without you in the role you're in.
That's right.
So that's silliness when you
Yeah.
when you really think about it. So
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
to your point, the idea of sharing knowledge to demonstrate, one, I think it demonstrates your willingness to be a team player, but also that you are confident enough in your ability to contribute at a higher level that the company's not going to say, well, I gave Josh everything I know, so Josh can do his thing and Ed, see you later.
yes.
No, if Josh is successful, a good company's going to say, wow, Ed helped to make Josh successful. Wonder if he can do it for some other people too. Can we
Mhm.
spread his knowledge wealth around to make 5 more Joshes, kind
Right.
of thing?
Right.
That's the beauty of well cultivated leadership.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when I see folks who are hoarders of knowledge or hoarders of power, it's one of the first things that I talk to owners and executives about, trying that has to get broken up,
Mm.
because it's going to hold the organization back. That arm of the organization will always be weaker.
Mhm.
Man, man, this is such good stuff. I love it. Thanks for spending this time with us on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, I another piece as I hear you talk about this, and I love that about not holding on to knowledge. And I think there's a lot of these maybe old traditions that we're going to start to see being broken off. One of those is, well, if you haven't been with a company for 10 to 20 years, then there's something wrong with you. And here's the other one. Well, if you've been through a job, if you can't be somewhere longer than 2 years, there's something wrong with you. And I think, could there be something wrong? Yes, there could be, right? Maybe you're lazy. Maybe you have a problem with commitment. There's all of those possibilities, right? But I think you do have people who are they want the opportunity to succeed. They want the opportunity to be more than just someone that is a cog in your wheel of profit, right?
Mhm.
And to put profit above people, yeah, you may put money in the bank, but what are you going to have
That's right.
later? What type of destruction of people have you left in your path to get to where you want to be? And I can tell you, you might not make as much money as you want by doing some of these things that Ed's talking about, but I think you can sleep a lot better at night. Would you
Yeah.
rather invest in people or just your own ambitions?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the executives that I have the pleasure of working with, I'm telling you, the happiest ones, the ones who are firing on all cylinders, the companies that are thriving and growing, and these guys aren't stressed out. They're
Mhm,
not at their wits' end with what's going to happen to your business, to their business. Every single one of them across the board has, in some way, leveraged their ownership shares, maybe through an ESOP type of
mm,
scenario,
mhm,
or they're cultivating other partners to come in, and it becomes their way out in a way that honors their legacy. I mean, to a one. And I can think of a gentleman who's the exact opposite of that, who he's a third generation. We know that's a tough generation in family
mhm,
businesses.
mhm,
He is stressed. Um, you look at him, he looks 10 years older, quite honestly, than he is.
mhm,
The business is surviving at best,
mm,
and he's a power monger. He thrives on the I'm the president, I make all the decisions, it's my way.
yes.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
and he has an executive team that is completely unempowered to do anything. And frankly, then that it's going down through the rest of the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Probably results in a lot of turnover as well.
Oh, absolutely. They
It's
they
kinda
cannot, and they're in the trades, and they cannot get people, because when they're out on site, you can go out on a site where there's a bunch of contractors of different, mechanical
Mhm.
skills, and the word is, oh yeah, you don't want to go over there because
right.
of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys
Yeah.
know, like, every industry is its own little thing,
Mhm.
right? And people talk.
Yes, they do.
So, and to kind of close that thought, you mentioned about, well, if you don't have 15 years, or you this, you that, that gets thrown around so much. And when someone says that to me, my response is always, well, there's a big difference between whether you have 15 years of experience
Mhm.
or whether you have 1 year of experience repeated 15 times.
That's so good.
There,
That's so
there is
good.
a
Love
massive
it.
difference there. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
people confuse it all the time. And I look and say, if you've been doing the same job for 15 years and getting the exact same results, you do not have 15 years of experience.
That's right.
You just don't.
Man, that's good. That's good.
So, as we think about closing up today, Ed, you in your description of the presentation, you
Yeah.
had mentioned some hands-on experience, like the people that come to your session, they're gonna leave with something. Can you give us a little teaser about that?
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so when I talk succession planning, I'm not a theory guy. So maybe the first 5 minutes is going to be, kind of, here's the theory of succession planning and why we want to do it. I figure if you're attending the session, you kind of know why. So I just sort of like to level set. The rest of that then becomes a walkthrough of here's how you do it. And so the smart attendee to my session, as we're going through it, we're going to talk about, okay, think about a few people who are ready to be moved up. Let's go through, think about what are their gaps? What are their strengths? What's the bridge we need to build? And what's the best way to build it? And of course, I'll be talking about different ways that we can build the bridge between the gaps and the strengths. And even look at strategies for saying, well, you know what? What if I can only get Josh to 90% ready and now the opening has occurred? That's probably okay. We'll build that last 10% bridge. There's nothing wrong with that. So they'll walk away in many cases with a plan of action, whether it's for one specific person or a group of people that they can take back and say, let's get started on this. Let's do it now. So they're not going to come to my session and hear high level theory and talk. They're going to walk with some nuts and bolts things that they can implement, right on Monday morning, so to speak.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, it's right on Wednesday morning, your session at 9:15. So for those of you at the show, going to be there again, third floor. They have breakfast and coffee and things between seminars. But Ed is going to be on talking about strategic planning, right? In the business management track, 9:15 to 10:15, room 301. Be there. Right.
Be there. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things and I'll sign off with this, and then Josh, I'm gonna let you close us out. Ed, thank you so much, man. I intend to slip in and listen to your session. Something I think about is it's a statement I heard not too long ago, and it's so good. One of the best things you'll ever do is let go of control. One of the hardest things you will ever do is let go of control.
Yeah.
And I think what Ed's offering is an opportunity for you to think about your business in a new way and not seeing bringing other people on board as losing control, rather sharing opportunity.
Yeah. Love it.
Well said.
Awesome. All right. Well, Josh, I'll let you close this out, man.
No, again, Ed, thanks for being here. Looking forward to meeting you face to face in Oklahoma City here in just 4 short weeks, I believe.
Fast.
So looking forward to that. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. If you guys, would like and subscribe to our podcast, and be sure to share it. And yeah.
All right. Everyone stay safe in Snowmageddon. It's coming.
Snowmageddon.
Right. All right. See you guys on the next episode of Post Frame 360.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.